Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2021 Valero, Texas. These are my money picks. Going to give me about 30 minutes, and in that time, hopefully I can put a few more bucks in your pocket. And I first want to thank you very much for stopping by. If you are a regular, I thank you for your support. You guys are amazing. And if you are new, give me a few moments. You might like the way I do things, you might not, but I will get into the analysis and tell you why I'm making the picks I am, and then you can make your own decisions. All right, let's get into this. So first thing we got to cover is my giveaway that I'm doing. And again, what this is it is the $100 entry into the Masters 1 million maker event. 28,000 entries will be going into this, so a lot better odds than I think there was like a $15 one for the million maker. I was going to do a bunch of those, but I thought, you know what? Let's step it up a little bit and give us some better odds of hitting this thing. And all you need to do to get in this contest is like this video. If you are not a subscriber, can you please subscribe? That would mean the world to me and also get you into this contest. If you're already a subscriber, don't worry about it. Just tell me, who do you think is going to win the Masters? That's it. In the YouTube comments below, send me a note who you think will be winning this. And then I'm going to do a random drawing. So I'll take all the people that have given me their comments, put them into this kind of spinny wheel thing, and I'll actually show the outcomes. Put it at the end of probably my Fades and Sleepers show for the Masters. So if anybody wants to watch it actually happen so they can see it actually live, I think that makes sense. And I'm going to pick two winners, which are $100 each. That's $200. But if I think I'm at like 360 subscribers right now. I'm trying to get the subscriber base up. And if I get it up to 500 by the end, before I actually do the draw, I'm going to pick 5 winners, which equals $500. So that's it. So real quick, like this, subscribe, tell me who's going to win the Masters. You'll be automatically entered into a $100 entry drawing for the Million Maker for the $100 one. Okay. So if you missed my preview show, real quick, I went through and talked about the guys that we're going to be looking for to win this thing, what skill set they need. The number one was tee to green. Driving distance is huge here, but you got to hit the fairways. A proximity to the hole, so on approach, we're looking for guys that are really good from 75 to 100, 100 on 125. Scrambling, the more I looked at this, is not super important, so I took it out of the major model, but still a little bit. Sand saves is around the green, and really birdie or better we're looking for, and guys that can convert birdies and eagles. As the wind blows, you know, this could become a little bit of a scoring fest. Hence, Corey Connors 20 under. And right now, when I looked, I think last night, the conditions look pretty good. There's a ton of par 4s, 400 to 450, so we're looking at that. And then, of course, guys need to score on the par 5s. I mentioned the comp courses. I actually added 3 more because quite a few of these guys haven't played at Sanderson Farms, but I still think that's a good comp course. It's a CC of Jackson. I'm going to look at the Arnold Palmer. I'm going to look at the Houston Open. I also want to look at the Genesis. You know, the more I kind of thought about it, different putting surfaces, but again, we're not so much worried about what the guys are going to do on the putting greens. I mean, of course, they got to make putts, but we're looking for the guys who are going to get the opportunities. And Genesis is very difficult, long, hard to hit fairways. I forgot if it ranks like 2nd or 3rd. I believe this course is somewhere around 15th, hardest on the PGA on hitting fairways. So I thought, hey, this is probably a good correlation I'm gonna look at. One of my subscribers also mentioned, Chris Cole, bring you up, mentioned TPC Summerlin where they play Shriners. So I appreciate that. I'm going to pull that in too. I did look at it, and there is a lot of similarities that do come up. And then the last is the Safeway, where they play the Safeway at Silverado. And then, of course, we'll look at their history at Valero. All right. So the first thing I always do, I'm starting to get away a little more from this, but I want to keep showing it to you guys so you can make your own decisions. Because technically, when I kind of do the overview and really dive into the players, it's kind of doing all this for us. But, you know, if you break it down, we're always looking for correlation. And so what this is looking at Fantasy National. I'm leveraging their information. And the first thing I'm looking at is the top 20 players over the past 12 rounds. How's been their recent form? And then I'm looking against, you know, the model that I created. And that's, again, weighted heavily tee to green, driving distance, the things that I already covered earlier. You can see that all up here in the weights that I put in. And then it spits out, and I rank them, or click the rank button, and it ranks them for me. And I'm just looking at the top 20 guys. In the field, we have over 150. We want to just focus on try to have a core group that we want to look at playing. I highlighted Keegan Bradley because he shows up a few times in the different models I run. Chris Kirk showed up a few times. There's a lot of these guys that I'm interested in. And this, again, is just recent form. Not putting any filters on, not looking at any course comparisons, all that will come up, and let's talk about that. So, of course, TPC, San Antonio, playing the Oaks course. And I just wanted to see their history here over the past 24 rounds against those stroke gain. I'm always going to say shot gain, stroke gain weights that you have up there. And of course, some guys pop up that, really shouldn't, but that's what happens when you pull history. Like Kevin Chappell, good history here, but of course he had the hurt back. Not someone that's been playing well, and I think he played at Corral, so we'll click on him and look at it a little longer. But in my mind, Kevin Chappell it kind of just deletes. Ryan Moore, I think, is kind of a funky fit here. Is not the kind of course that I think Ryan Moore would do that great at, even though he comes up. Charlie Hoffman, his game does transfer over here and has played well. Jimmy Walker, has had some past success, but again, like Kevin Chappell, his game's kind of broken. Party Marty Laird, he's had some recent success, and he has a win here. It was a while ago. It was on this course, but I think it was like 2012. Zach Johnson had a win at this event, but a different course. Again, not the guys that I'm going to be looking at. I'm not looking at the plotters. I'm going to look at the bombers. Of course, DJ withdrew, and another guy that we don't care about, last name, I think it was Jerry Kelly or something like that, withdrew. I think he plays on the senior tour too. I could be wrong with that. Okay, so then we look at a little broader sample, and now we're looking at guys that done well at comp courses. That's some of the courses I already showed. It also pulls in some other courses too, because what I'm doing is I'm putting filters on for like Bermuda, over 7,400 yards, par 72, and kind of see what comes up from there. And of course, Corey Connors leads. Ryan Moore again pops up, which is interesting. I mean, maybe it's someone that is going to come back to haunt me, but it's not someone I'm looking at. Of course, Kevin Chappell again pops up with his history at the Oaks course. Jimmy Walker again, some of the same guys. Sean O'Hare, I think he ended up. I don't think he won, but I think he was in like a T2 or tied for second. Anyways, Zach Johnson at the very bottom, and then Danny Will here, who did show some recent form at Corrales. So someone that you could look at, not on my radar. And then the last thing, what I really want to do is just kind of slim down that model, because what I'm really looking for is tee to green specialists. Again, this is going off the narrative of like the Trey Mullinex, the Corey Connors. Now, there's been some instances like, Andrew Landry, who, does a little better putting. I wouldn't say he's a plotter, but I don't think he's as accurate as the guys that I'm looking at from tee to green that I want. But you can kind of see how the top 20 guys popped up there. Brendan Steele is very interesting. Harry Higgs, I've got an outright bet on. Also, we're going to look at Odds Checker and talk about some bets that I've made and some bets that you might want to look at, something I want to add to the show. As the betting market has opened up more and more, and I'm doing more betting, just not DFS. I want to add that into the show for the people that don't really do DFS, but want to understand some of the bets that I'm looking at. Sam Ryder has a couple, good last outings. I believe at Corrales, he had a T2, and then, of course, at the Honda, I believe he shot a 6. Was he the one that shot the 61? I might get confused. That might have been, oh, God. All these tournaments just keep blending. Matt Jones on Thursday. Doesn't matter. Anyways, so yeah, just give you a look at some of the guys that came up when I'm just looking at an heavily weight tee to green, driving distance, fairways gained, approach, and then birdie or better. Just a simplified way of looking at this. That's the key areas that I want to focus on. And these are some of the guys that, I'm going to be looking at heavily. Okay, with that said, let's go jump into the analysis. Okay, so I'm in Fantasy National, and I've already went through, set up my own. There's an area here that you can use. It's called Sneak Peek. What it does is allow you to break down in 3 major categories. You can look at it so many different ways. And so what I do is I kind of take what we just discussed from a model. I pop this in. You can put 5 key kind of stats that you want to focus on. You can add in another area of its, putting surface splits. I'm looking at tee to green and wind conditions, because typically it does get windy here. Even though I mentioned, right now I'm not seeing anything crazy. And then I'm also just want to see tournament history or recent results. So that's the information. I've slimmed it down to 15 guys that I'm interested in, and that's the guys we're going to talk about. Of course, I'll do my sleepers. There's guys below that I'm also interested. But I'm kind of stopping at, I believe I don't have anyone less. The lowest I got is 7,100 on my list. So let's talk about these guys. So Tony Finau, of course, um, and I'm looking, the main two areas that I'm focusing on is these top two bars. I'd like to see the guys at least green or yellow. If they have one red, I'm dealing with it. Of course, Tony, and this is looking over the past 12 rounds. So I like to keep it very recent. Now, from this windy stuff, I wanted to take a bigger sample. So I'm looking at 24. But just to give you an idea, and of course, the history, goes for like about 5 events. And so there's some guys that's actually, done well at this tournament. It won't pull up, but we'll dive into them anyways. Okay, enough said. Let's go talk about Tony Finau. So right now, his projected ownership, of course, he's going to be a little chalky with DJ pulling out. On a note with DJ, it's kind of funny. He's done this multiple times recently. This kind of like commit to a tournament and then just, oh, nope, actually, I'm not going to play in it. On one side, I guess it takes the pricing for the DFS side and moves it down. If you got some bets in maybe earlier on this event, it might have helped from a betting perspective. I think he was like 7-1. So I just think it's very weird that, and there's no, nothing from Element or feeling bad. He just decided he wanted to take a little break, and I'm like, well, why did you? Because he was not committed to this event, and then he went and said, oh, I'm going to go play in it because I didn't do well at WGC, and then something between that time changed. Maybe there was a party or something he wanted to attend. He was like, nope, just kidding, I'm out. So, anyways, pretty interesting. But let's take a look at Tony and just look at some of the comparable courses we were talking about. We can also look at this information. So, from a putting perspective, we know Tony's not the best putter. If he ever gets hot with putting, that's when he's going to finally win and break through. But we are looking at a hybrid. It is mainly Bermuda, but there also is some POA in there. I'm not so much concerned again about the putting. What I am more concerned about is he can play in the wind. We know he's long and somewhat accurate off the tee. We look at his tee to green over the last 5 events. It's almost gaining 6 strokes against the field. Of course, if the players didn't go so well. But if you look at these past events, and this is one of my comp courses, Genesis, he played very well. And on that note, let's go look. So Sanderson Farms, not a lot of these, well, not a lot, but some of these guys haven't played in, so that's why I added some more. Not so well, but I mean, it was 2014 when he played there. How did he do at Arnold Palmer? He had a miscut, but a 28th and a 43rd. What about the recent Houston Open? He had a 24th, so that's good. The Genesis, we just kind of looked at. He had a second place here very recently and a second before. So we can, the Genesis tells me he can get around a very tough track that's got some length. We look at Shriners, can get pretty windy there in Vegas. And that's at TPC Summerlin. So, yeah, pretty good record there. And the Safeway I also was looking at, he had a second. That was all the way back in 2017. And, of course, at this tournament, he's had a third back in 2017. And then didn't do so hot in 2019, so that's interesting. But, I think, he's no shocker that there's going to be a lot of people on him. You got Jordan Spieth, who, of course, I also like. I've been on the Jordan Spieth train. Recent results, right? He's had that top 5 finishes or better than 5 at the Arnold Palmer, the Pro-Am, the Waste Management. The Genesis, he had a 15th, and then the Players, not as good, but can play and win. And, tee to green has been great, and the guy gets birdie or better opportunities. It's all going to come down to the putter with him. Let's click on Jordan real quick. You can see his splits, Bent's the best, of course, with Augusta coming up, and everybody's kind of excited for see what Jordan will do there. Tee to green, he's almost at 5 strokes gain. His best over the last was at the Arnold Palmer. And if I pull up, he's never played Sanderson Farms. We already know about the Arnold. He had a 4th, and that was his first time playing there in 2021. The Houston Open, he missed a cut in 20, but of course the swing wasn't where it's at now. And you had the whole hand thing that came out. Supposedly that's all better. The Genesis, good form there. He's at a 4th. That was back in his heyday. A 9th in 2018 and a 15th recently. And let's take a look at Shriners. He had a 55th. That was back in 2018. What about Safeway? Miscut. And I think we already looked at Valero. Maybe not. Let's take a look. All right. So he had a second back in his heyday. Miscut in 2013. In 2019, even when he wasn't playing his best, he still, had a 30th. Of course, that's, where he had his double misses. So a little bit off the tee. But I like Jordan, and I think, there's no shockers there. I mean, of course, Scotty Scheffler was a difficult one for me because of how much golf he just played. I was kind of weighing about maybe fading him, and it might come down for me to the ownership perspective when I finally make the final kind of decision. But the guy, of course, out of this field is elite on everything we're looking for. Some reason, Scotty might struggle typically on the Sundays with the putter, but yeah, I will click on him. Let's go just see how he's done. So again, as I mentioned, the putters were typically the element, but the guy can play in a wind. It's kind of shocking. Almost gains 3.5 strokes on the field against in crazy wind. Again, we don't have confirmation of, is it going to be windy there, but we're going on the typical it does. Over the last 5 rounds, he's gained almost 4 strokes against the field, tee to green. His best tee to green lately was at WGC Workday, a concession. So let's go and let's see. I know he played the Sanderson. Yeah, so this is interesting. This was his first tournament back after his COVID break, and he was hooking the driver. I just remember him in the woods nonstop. Did really bad on Thursday, and really, I don't. Well, he made the cut because it says right here he made Thursday. I just remember he made the cut, and then every day got better for him. Struggled just on approach, so just interesting. Arnold Palmer in 20 was a 15th. What about the Houston? A 32nd. How did he do at the Genesis? He had a 20th. Shriners, he had a miscut. And let's look at the Safeway. Hasn't played the Safeway. And the Valero, the one time he played, did pretty well. He had a 20th. And I like the tee to green. Looks like didn't really do a whole lot with the putter, but approach. If he does something close to this, I mean, he's going to have to get that number up a little bit. He could definitely be very live. All right. Hideki. Now, if you watch me for a while, I am typically not. I've been fading Hideki, but there's a few guys that this is where I'm kind of like this could be their breakdown. Now, Hideki hasn't won, as we know, in quite a while, but the guy is pretty elite still. Tee to green, he's been loft. This was interesting where there's a ton of these 4 to 450. He ranks third in the field. He's still getting his birdie or better opportunities. So 17th. He can play in the wind. He can handle it. He's a great ball striker. His recent, with the cut at the Players, I'm not too worried about that. The Genesis, maybe a little bit worried, but this looks pretty good. He's had better than 20 finish, and he's never played here. So no tournament history on Hideki. Let's go see. Of course, Bermuda, but I mean, his putter is just not a strength. We already know that. Tee to green, his best showing was at the Workday concession lately, and then at the Sony, which I'm not really concerned about that. The Sony is a pretty little easier track. As he never played Sanderson. Let's see how he did at Arnold. So he had an 18th recently. We just saw that. The Houston Open, he came in second. So that was actually the last event when he came behind Carlos Ortiz, if I remember correctly, yes. Where he really played well, and he was gaining 4.5 strokes. And I believe, I just want to verify. Oh, of course, it doesn't come up. I'm almost certain. I don't remember now because I know that the CC of Houston, where they typically play it, was Bermuda. I don't remember a Memorial was on Bermuda. It doesn't really matter. Like I said, I'm not as concerned as I typically am about the putting surface. I'm more concerned about what these guys do getting there. And I might have just double opened. Let me see. I don't know if I finished. Kind of got hung up on the Shriners. What about the Safeway? Yeah, so he's had a good track record at the Safeway. I mean, he had a recent miscut, but other than that, the past history was pretty good, and we already know he's never played at Valero. Okay, so I am on Hideki, so I'm going to play him. I like that the ownership is lower, and it could be, I say a sneaky play, but something different. Corey Connors, to be honest, I was going to fade too. I just The guy, of course, won here, and the guy's been playing great. But his ownership, if it's ridiculous, I don't know. I might try to pivot again. I don't know how much I'm going to even play from a DFS perspective at the Valero. I've been kind of on and off. Definitely already got quite a few bets in, and even first round bets in. But yeah, from a DFS perspective, might be a little lighter this week because I know I'm going to go pretty heavy at the Masters. But anyways, we go look at Corey. Like I said, good recent form. Of course, the putter is his nemesis, but if that gets hot, we know he can, do some damage. He did real well at the API. Missed a cut at the Genesis, which is one of the courses that I'm looking at. Sanderson Farms, which I think is a good comp. Had a second there in 2018, 17th here recently. You look at Arnold, had a third recently. Look at the Houston Open, he had a 24th. Genesis, just that course and him at the Riviera, he's not doesn't do so hot there. Shriners had a miscut, and the Safeway had a 13th in 2019. So I'll just be straight up with you from a Corey Connors perspective. I think if he's just like ridiculously chalk, I might try to pivot. That might be where I go with some more Hideki, just to be a little different. I think Cameron Tringale, again, looking at these top two indicators, and of course he's hitting the fairway, so solid recent results. Tournament history is pretty decent here. If we go pull up some more deeper information on Mr. Tringale, really likes POA. It says here he struggles a little bit in the heavy winds. Just coming off the Honda, he was gaining almost 9 strokes tee to green. That's probably his best. I'm just scrolling down. I'm curious if he's ever. So there you go. So the best, his best performance tee to green was at Sanderson Farms in 2019. And that's the number one. So we'll just go pull up Sanderson, just see how he's done there. So yeah, that was his best showing. He had a 37th there in 2020. Arnold Palmer, 31st, 27th. So pretty good past history there. What about the Houston? Pretty good history there. The Genesis, he had a 26th recently, tough course. The Shriners, he had a 19th. He had a second there back in 2015. Look at the Safeway. He had a miscut recently, but, overall, pretty good track history there. And I think, the Valero had a 17th in 2019. So, yeah, there's nothing that's telling you not to play Cameron Tringale, but he's at 16% projected. The Hofster, that's pretty crazy, almost 21%. But you see my top two bars there, he's showing up elite there. Of course, the putter again with Hoffman. I think I didn't watch a whole lot of Corrales, but what I did hear was that he kind of fell apart on Sunday. A lot of people had him to win that or picked. Of course, Joel Damon won it. But he's had, amazing course history here. The first, I don't think I even need to go look at the other courses for you. I don't think anybody's going to be like, no, Charlie Hoffman's not a good fit. And, decent recent form, of course, like I said, that T34 recently. And we don't have stroking, so I can't really. From my understanding, I think it was a putter that fell apart. Brendan Steele has had a great course history here. Again, ticks all the boxes I want. Can handle the wind. Let's just go look at some of the other courses that we're talking about here for tee to green. Nothing to get super excited about, but the last couple events, the best was at Arnold Palmer. Did roll well at the Waste Management. That's that course definitely can get windy there. It's not too far off kind of what we're looking at here. So yeah, 61st way back, so there's nothing really to even go off there. Arnold Palmer, he's done solid form there. At the Houston, miscut in 2019. You do at the Genesis. He had a 43rd recently at the Genesis. At Shriners, kind of Jekyll and Hyde. It's either he, almost top 30 or missed a cut. So do what you want with that. Safeway. So he's won there twice. So, and like I said, it's a pretty good comp course. So I think that's also what's putting people on. Won there back to back. That's pretty impressive. And the Valero, like I said, won in 2011. So that was on this track, and then he followed up with a 14th. Had an 8th. So yeah, pretty good course, but did miss. Well, that's the Valspar. Let me get that out of there for you. So he's only missed a cut once, and that was in 2014. So yeah, don't think I had to do a whole lot of selling to get you to look at Brendan Steele. Chris Kirk, my number one guy, tee to green right now. Again, that's looking at the past 12 rounds that he's played. He's number one on the par fours that, and there's a ton of them. Birdie or better, he's getting his opportunities. Just, his distances is good, so that's probably the one area. But when you're hitting on those cylinders, I'm not worried about that. It's shown he can play at this course. He's had really good recent form. If we go look at some comparables, just looking at, so you can see, tee to green, pretty good, gaining 7 strokes. I just wanted to see if there was. Let's go look. Played Sanderson Farms. Yep, it's done pretty well there. Little history, but it's done well there. Had a 53rd recently. Arnold Palmer, he had the 8th recently, a 15th, a 13th. So, it's done well at Bay Hill. At the Houston, he had a 44th in 2020. How do you do at the Genesis? Miscut. He didn't play recently, but not a huge fan of Riviera, it looks like. Shriners, 2018, a 41st. What about the Safeway? Miscut in 2018, but had an 8th in 2016. And I think we already looked. So he miscut recently at Valero, but, some decent past history. So again, I don't think I'm going to have to sell anyone on that. Keegan Bradley, I think, it was one of my first bets I made. He's just been playing well for Keegan Bradley. And the reason why is because the first course that I thought of is Sanderson Farms, and that was the first time I actually saw Keegan do well in a while, and so hence why he was like one of the first guys that popped in my brain. Of course, the putter could be crazy hot or a disaster. You can see his tee to green; he's been pretty elite. Last at the Honda, gained 8 strokes. Just as I mentioned, the putter, lost 7 strokes at the Sony. So that's what it all comes down to. Keegan, how is he feeling? But if we look at Sanderson Farms, there was that 4th place I was talking about where he had a good chance, I think, going into Saturday to win. And then, of course, Sergio Garcia pulled out that win. You got the Arnold Palmer. He's done well. He had a 10th recently. We look at the Houston Open. Miscut both times there. Did he play at the Genesis? So he had a 60th recently at the Genesis, but way back in 2015, he had a 4th. Shriners, miscut recently, but back in his heyday, had a 7th. About the Safeway, a couple miscuts on a 22nd. And then at this tournament, his best finish was a 9th. That was a way back, but it was on his course. 45th recently. But I like Keegan, but it's all about the putter with Keegan. And it was the same with Corey Connors. It was one of his better putting rounds. I think he gained, as I mentioned, over 2.5 strokes, which is rare for Corey. Adam Hadwin, someone I haven't really been looking at, but he, popped up, hitting all the boxes I wanted. He had an 8th here recently, so he's, pretty good recent form. And, here as a history-wise, not so great, and his ownership's pretty low. So I kind of like Adam Hadwin, going with the Canadian. Hey, Canadian won it the previous year, why not again? If we go look at Adam Hadwin on the comparables, as you see, the guy likes to putt on pole, and I said it is a hybrid. I mean, that's a stretch, but it is a hybrid. Tee to green, nothing spectacular recently, but, he has been putting pretty good. And if we go look, so Sanderson Farms, he had a 28th. That's way back, though. Let's see. At Arnie's, I mentioned he had some good history here, but had a miscut recently. What about the Houston? Never played the Houston Open, the Genesis. So you can see here he's done pretty well. Never missed a cut at the Genesis, and that's a tough track to get around. A couple 26. Shriners, he's at a 4th, a 10th, a 34th, so some good showings there. And then the Safeway, 2019, he had a 2nd place and, a couple miscuts, but, I think we already looked at, the Valero was nothing. So Adam's probably a little bit of a reach or, something that might be a little unique to help you differentiate, but I kind of like everything I'm seeing. Sam Burns, I I did not think I'd be going to Sam Burns, and he's not hitting my tee to green number there or fairways, but what we do know is on tough tracks, and this is purely why I'm playing him and picking him. Now, funny enough, he's already projected to be owned 12%, which I think is pretty high. I actually have an outright bet on him. I just think it's the perfect scenario of everybody's written him off. He's not the flavor of the week, and then Sam Burns comes out of nowhere and lights it up. As you see, he's firing at the courses that I like. So at Sanderson Farms, he's had a third in his past, but recently had a miscut. But I wasn't so concerned with that. At Arnold Palmer recently had a miscut. Made the cuts before that. But what was interesting was when we saw him contend and gained 11 strokes. That was at the Houston Open at Memorial Park. I think it's a good comp course. What I think is even better is, of course, that the Genesis is what got everybody excited on him, where he gained 6 strokes. Was gaining with the putter, and that was on Poa. So we all thought, hey, Burns is coming to Florida, get ready for a win. And it didn't happen. And then he, just kind of went south, and everybody was like, okay, I'm off him. And that's like the perfect timing, I think, to strike. And so that's why. And he's also on the comparable courses I like. He's at the Safeway. He's at a 7th. So, and then Sanderson, I already look at that. He had a 3rd. So, yeah, everything was just kind of lining up for me to get back on Sam Burns. And so you heard it here. I don't think anybody else that I've listened to. Of course, I check out other people too. I like to hear everybody's kind of thoughts and opinions. I think it's something that we should all do. And so, hey, that's going to be kind of my flyer. But, right now saying I'm not the only person jumping on that bandwagon. Aaron Wise, right? So, of course, he had that really good showing at the Honda and then kind of fell apart. He's played here, he's missed a cut. But when I think another guy that can be very elite tee to green, which this shows, you can just get a little wayward once in a while, the driver and, of course, the putter. But I'm on Aaron Wise again. I'm hoping that he can kind of, get that magic he had at the Honda. If we look at Sanderson Farms, he had a 17th recently. At the Arnold Palmer, he missed a cut, but, had a couple 40ths before that. The Houston Open, he had 11th finish. That was another reason what got me excited about Mr. Aaron Wise. The Genesis, miscut. Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, miscut recently or in 2020. Shriners, a couple miscuts, but he had a 10th and a 15th there in his previous history. Safeway, not good. No bueno. And Valero, he had a miscut. So I am on Aaron Wise. It's the kind of skill set that I'm looking. My last two guys is Harold Varner. He was actually on the cover there, popping the champagne. What he won the Australian PGA event there. Tough event. But this guy clicks all the boxes. It just comes down, I think, a little mental with him and the putter, which is all these guys, right? I'm looking for, good elite tee to green guys. He's had a decent course history here. And if we go pull up Mr. HV3, so at the Honda, he gained 7 strokes tee to green. I like that. Actually gained a little of the putter and at the API. So both, the courses I've been looking. So Sanderson Farms, it was a little while ago, but he had a miscut, and then I floated after. It doesn't matter. It was a while ago. But we look at the Arnold Palmer. He had a 21st. Like I said, gained with the putter, which that's not typical. The recent Houston Open did well. Just didn't, make the putts where he needed, but gained 10 strokes tee to green. So I liked that. And the Genesis, he had a 62nd, made the cut there, but he had a 13th the year before that. So he can handle a tough course. We look at Shriners, he had a 13th in 2020. And if we look at the Safeway, the 29th. And of course, we already looked at the history. The best finish at Valero was a 9th in 2016. So I think everything looks good to go. Of course, other people are looking at that. And then my kryptonite is Matthew NeSmith. And, it's one of those, it's almost like a little Brokeback Mountain. I wish I could quit him, but, you're just kind of like, oh, I don't want to be the guy that misses NeSmith or Norlander when they finally bust back. And so he's hitting all the boxes. If I go look at some comparables, guy can play in the wind. Tee to green, he's had some really good showings. You can see here at the AT&T. Even at the Waste Management, he popped up. Genesis, of course, that's partly, what also got me. Sanderson, he had a 17th in 2020. So nice showing there. Doesn't like the API, so maybe that's a good thing. Houston Open, nope, not good there. But what did he do? So he had a 20th at Genesis recently. If you look at the Shriners, he had an 8th. The Safeway, not his favorite. So, and he's never played here. So I'm going with him. I'm hoping again he's not going to kill me, but he is going to be in my pick. So that's it from the analysis side. Let's go summarize this and wrap this thing up. Okay, so to give you my top 5 money picks, we are going with Mr. Hideki Matsuyama, Scheffler. Hopefully he's not burned out. Chris Kirk's been playing amazing. Hope he keeps that up. Of course, Steele, great course history here. Been playing well. And of course, Charlie Hoffman. And funny enough, there's been some conversations back and forth with Streelman in. So of course, my doppelgangers is Steele and Streelman. And literally, if those two would have been in, I think I would have just built 20 teams with those two guys and then stuck 4 guys around them from a DFS perspective. But Streelman is not playing this week. My next 5 money picks, we are going with Keegan. Of course, the Texas local who's been playing well. Spieth. Finau, typically penciling him in for a second place, I always say. You got Tringali, who's been playing great. And then maybe a little bit of a sleeper, Adam Hadwin. See if we can get that back-to-back Canadian special. Burns, the man that I think a lot of people have forgotten about. But I'm on him this week. Neesmith, my kryptonite. You got HV3, who could come in with a solid finish. Aaron Wise. And last but not least, Corey Connors. I can't fade him because every time I do fade, Corey Connors kills me. I don't think he's going to top 5. I think he will definitely top 10, top 15. So there you go. Okay, so I did want to go over, this is Odds Checker, of course, and I just wanted to talk about a little bit about the bets that I like and what I've got going on. So typically when I make my bets, I'm not much for betting guys 15 to 1, 20 to 1, whatever. Like, it just isn't really worth my time. I think the lowest guy, I do have Siwoo Kim, who was not on my picks, but just someone I bet. I believe I got these two. So I got pretty much minimum. I got to have 41. So Kirk, Steele. Some of my favorites, I'm just going to scroll way down right here. We're going to take this backwards. Where's Akshay Bhatia? So you can see here you can get him 300 to 1. But Akshay at 250, that guy, he can go nuclear. And what I'm getting to is I got him as a first round to lead the first round. Just side note. Austin Eckride is someone that's interesting. He'll probably be one of my sleepers. I'll just go ahead and give you that right now. He looked firing on all cylinders that I'm looking at. Killer Keith, right? I mean, he had a decent showing of life at the Honda. Can strike the ball. T. Lewis, that's not a bad price on him. You can get a 300 way over. What is that one? Let me just see, because I'm curious. Sorry, points bet. So there you go, points bet. Because that's quite a different from 150 to 300. I probably lost it. Where is he at? I apologize. Anyways, I do have a bet on Kiradek. Just, at those kind of odds, why not? There's Jerry Kelly I mentioned. He withdrew. Who else did I like from a betting? Glick had a good showing at Corrales. Can hit the T-ball. Christoph Ventura, I believe I do have a bet on him. I'm just trying to remember out. I'm not looking at my card now, but can, of course, hit the ball a long ways off the tee. Who else? Doc Redman. Funny, no one's talking about him. I didn't even really talk about him, but when I was looking at this from a betting perspective, right, the guy was elite tee to green and just, the short game. But that's someone I probably need to look a little more into, but that's not bad odds. FanDuel is the second one. I know that. It's got him at 190 to 1. He just has not shown much life. Okay, Will Gordon, I've got a bet on, and I think Cashley. I think both those are for first round leaders. I don't think they'll win the tournament outright, but Luke List, I have a bet on, and I think I bet him early, and of course he withdrew from Corrales. Someone said, maybe it was even Pat Mayo said he saw that maybe he withdrew from Vertigo. That's not confirmed. So again, when I think of elite tee to green terrible putter, Luke List is definitely up there. I think I did throw a small bet on Norlander and Neesmith, so you can get Norlander at 150 on FanDuel. Cameron Champ, I threw a bet on. I mean, the guy's gonna, I think what he won the Safeway, so could fit this course perfect. I mean, the guy hits it dead straight 3+. If he gets his irons on and makes a few putts, he could definitely pop up. He'll probably be on my sleeper picks, so I'll give that away too while you're here. Just seeing everybody else. Sam Ryder, 100-1. That's interesting. I mean, good recent form. I don't think of Sam as a great fit. Gary Woodland, I think I did put a bet on. This course sets up for Gary. Can keep the ball low. Good tee to green. Of course, it's just short game or putter with that guy. Sub Straka 70-1. That's kind of interesting. Oh, Harry Higgs, I did put a bet on. Again, what can he do with a putter? I didn't talk about Ricky Fowler, but that's someone, of course, as it's been stated multiple times. This is the last tournament. Kind of funny he didn't go over and play in Corrales, but last tournament for, he needs to do, to win to get in the Masters. HV3, I got a bet on. I'm big on him. Hadwin, Wise. So anyways, I think that's enough. Just to kind of give you guys some ideas of some bets that I'm making. And then one from a one and done format. I think off the top of my head, if you haven't used Spieth, of course, he's very live. Scheffler, Finau, even Masseyama. Now, Abraham Ancer, I just didn't like what I saw of him out of the match play. Now, you can't hold a lot of that, but also he just doesn't have the distance that I'm looking for. He's not, crazy small, but you got to make some selections, and just so and even Ryan Palmer, both could be, do very well here, but you got to make some decisions. And I kind of do the line with those guys. So, okay, let's wrap this thing up. All right. So, thank you very much for spending that time with me. Hopefully that helps you out from a DFS, from a betting. Talked a very little bit about one and done, but I don't do that, but I will always give you my opinion if you give a crap. If you do me the biggest favor, hit the like, subscribe. Remember, I've got that Masters promo. Give me your master pick winners. Get into that $100 possible entry. Could be up to 5 picks by the time that comes. So let's hope for that if we get some more subscribers. And I thank you guys for sharing and spending your time with me. And let's go make some cash this weekend, so we can go blow it all on the Masters. All right, talk to you guys later.